What is the best way to let your guests know they have overstayed their welcome? I've read that when Robert Mueller was director of the FBI, he would occasionally invite senior staff over for dinner and drinks. At 11:15 he would start turning the lights off in his house, starting furthest from the front door, to let his guests know it was time to leave. He also made it clear he expected to see all of them bright and early at work the next day. My dad's best friend has a story. One time when I was young, he was over at our house and we were all watching a movie. At some point my dad got tired and went to bed. In the morning, he asked us what time his friend had left. Mum didn't know because she went to bed a bit after he did. So they asked my sister and I, but we went to bed too. Dad called his friend to apologize and ask what time he left. He said not to worry, but when the dog went to bed too, he figured it was time to go home. I can just imagine him sitting there watching the TV and realizing that something is not right. My friend's son said to me, "Why are you still here? You've been here a very long time." She still gets embarrassed when I mention it. I thought it was adorable in its directness. I ask this to myself every time Imondra did at 4 in the morning. My father-in-law used to have a big red exit light, like you see in movie theaters, installed over the front door that he would turn on silently when he wanted to go to bed. Well, it's about that time that I usually beat my meat and go to bed. Unless of course you wanna stay and help. Start throwing their stuff out of the house, shoes, coats, or alternatively ask them to go check if the porch light is working and then lock them out when they step out. I love the second idea. I suggest dropping subtle hints. Light a candle and ask them if they think it smells like "get the heck of out my house." Tell them that your downstairs bathroom is broken, but if they need to go, there's another bathroom down the hall. Out the front door, directions to their own house. Directions to bathroom in their own house. Call animal control while in the room with them and describe to them the large animal in your house that's eating your food and sitting on your furniture. Give this man a medal. I usually just say something like, "I'm going to bed. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here," and then I get up and motion them towards the door. Dress up like a ghost and start saying "get out" in a scary voice. Bonus points for incorporating an unsettling picture of an elderly relative and maybe a fog machine or some lighting effects or something. Definitely more likely to work if you make vague comments about tonight being the anniversary. My dad told me about his uncle who always used to look at the dying embers of the fire and say, "Well, it's probably not worth putting another log on now." I work with a really lovable teenager with autism. If he's tired of socializing with you or you mention that you'll probably be leaving his house in an hour or two, he'll just abruptly interject, "Okay, see you later," and walk away. I can't fully explain and do it justice via the internet, but he says it with a very specific cheerful and upbeat intonation every single time. It cracks me up, because he'll literally ask you a question and you'll be mid-reply when he gets bored or decides that your half-sentence response is taking too long, so he just nopes out of the conversation. But he always says "okay, see you later" in such a positive and honest way that you can't even be mad at it. Sometimes I wish I could get away with doing the exact same thing consequence-free. TBH. Have a high-functioning 7 years old. I know exactly the sentiment you speak of, a sort of optimistic detachment. Like he's already moved on in his head. As a little kid, I cut footstep shapes out of construction paper and would lay them on the floor leading from the person to the door if I thought they were staying too long. As an adult, I had a male, unattractive roommate that would announce at the beginning of the party when naked time was. At that point, he was going to start stripping until people were so uncomfortable they left. That is a pretty cute kid solution actually. I like that. 1. Wait for a lull in conversation. 2. Say something along the lines of "Welp, it's getting pretty late." 3. Nod and drum on your knees. 4. Ask people for their opinions on your front door. 5. Request an in-depth assessment of its outer side. 6. Begin removing your clothing. 7. Once you are naked, acquire a large cooking implement of some variety. 8. I meant a spatula, but sure, an outdoor grill will work. 9. Brandish your makeshift weapon in a menacing fashion. 10. Declare yourself to be supreme ruler of the hidden mountain. 11. Pretend to see approaching invaders and command your subjects to meet them in battle. 12. If any stragglers remain, hit them with whatever you happen to be holding. 13. The following day, apologize and claim that your Ambien was kicking in. 14. Suggest that maybe people shouldn't stay for quite so long next time. My mom used to give our out of town guests one roll of TP and tell them when this is gone, so are you. She was savage AF. Jokes on her, one roll of TP can last me a couple of weeks, longer if I'm super economical. I start doing the dishes. I carry on the conversation like nothing has changed, but people get uncomfortable watching others do chores. My mother does this. If she finishes cleaning up and I'm still there, she goes to her room to change into her PJs and then says goodnight and turns off all the lights. I've used it once in Friends and it actually works. I had a date once. Invited him in to do some kissing and stuff. Did some kissing and stuff. Didn't like it. He wasn't picking up on my "I'm so tired" hint, so I jumped up and said, "Oh crap, I was supposed to meet my mom at o'clock," and frantically started apologizing and gathering my stuff. Walked him to his car and ran back in to finish getting ready. Yeah, it was crappy, but it somehow seemed better than "Hey, I want you to leave." Oh crap, I was supposed to meet my mom at 2 AM o'clock. I've got to get going now. Look around and say, this has been mostly enjoyable, but all good things must come to an end. Then usher them out with a smile and go to bed. Most people will pick up on this naturally from the change in atmosphere. Anyone who doesn't will need to be told clearly and directly. Anytime I had overstayers, it was always because they expected to either be accommodated overnight or to be driven home again. Some people are so selfish. When I was 17, I was at a party that was being held by a 19-year-old recent HS graduate. It was in the family's new home that was about halfway finished being built. The structure was up, plywood walls, steps, floors, but no HVAC, electric, plumbing, or siding roofing were done. 19-year-old guy is freaking huge. Had a younger brother my age, so there were a lot of people my age as well as people up to 21 years old. Big dude yells out loud at 2 AM for everyone to get the frick out. A few people left, but the majority ignored him. This was no dude to frick with. 19-year-old guy disappeared. Then 5 minutes later I hear a shotgun go off. 19-year-old dude is standing on the top floor balcony overlooking the majority of the party. Some were on the top floor too. There is a hole in the roof directly above him. He screams, "Get the frick out now," and pumps the shotgun during a dead silence. House emptied out in less than 20 seconds. 19-year-old dude became a cop in the next town over not long after that. I think I saw that movie. I just say, we are so glad you could come, but it's time to wrap things up. Be safe driving home. Seems to work pretty well. In some places there's a particular dish that's always served last and doubles as a signal that the party's over. Wouldn't that be handy? Come on, America, let's appropriate something useful for once. My girl and I just keep getting more and more inappropriate physically with each other until everyone leaves. Except that one guy. That one guy likes to watch. Tell your grandpa that he's a sick man. I had a friend that used to randomly stretch out in his chair, look at everyone and say, "As soon as you guys leave, I'm going straight to bed." That meant get the heck out. It was crappy though, because he would invite you over thinking it was a big party, get everyone drunk and then say that. So then you're like, "Hey man, can I sleep on your couch?" And he would say no. I used to hang out at a bar that had a get the frick out bucket. It was a bucket for washing tables that had get the frick out on the side, and they would throw it on the table so it splashed a bit. We never argued with the bucket. My aunt and uncle had people that would constantly drop in unannounced, just in time for dinner, and then wait until very late before leaving. They'd never offer to help with things like dishes, cleanup, or prep work. They'd just show up to eat dinner and drink after dinner drinks. When my aunt decided enough was enough, she made sure the guests were able to see her put the dinner plates on the floor for the dogs to lick clean, and then put them immediately back in the cupboard. The guests stopped coming for dinner. When I was in high school, there was a guy that was trying to end a party at his house, but was mainly being ignored. He got naked, walked into the middle of the living room where everyone was with a plate, and crap on it. He just left it there and said everyone can leave when they're ready. Party pooper. I once read that Carrie Fisher kept a copy of the Star Wars holiday special that she'd put on whenever she wanted guests to leave. I don't know if that's true, but it certainly sounds like something she would have done. I'm definitely going to remember this one. That's a good idea. Be honest. Say something like, hey, so we are very glad you visited, and just so you know, you are always welcome at our house. We do however have many errands to run and many things to take care of, and it becomes difficult to do so when you have guests over. We should plan out another visit perhaps on the oncoming holidays. God, that's a long goodbye. I usually resume my normal activities, like walking around naked or yelling at those dang birds who chirp all goddamn morning. Just push them out the door and say, glad you got the hint, and you continue to push them with the force of an elephant running at full speed. If they're close friends or family, they very likely have a good sense of when to leave and don't need to be told. In general, it's rude to tell your guests they should leave. The Russians have a funny saying for such occasions. Translated in English here: dear guests, haven't you gotten tired of the hosts yet? I just tell people I am tired and it's time for them to leave. I do the sorry to break up the fun, but I'm tired and we're going to have to continue this get together on another day. My best friend's almost 2-year-old will bring me my shoes when she wants me to leave. We will be chatting, having a grand old time, and here comes baby with my shoes. Once she brought them and said you go, most of the time it's just silence and handing me my shoes. One time I was hanging out with a crush. I had only been there about an hour, but I guess I just annoyed the crap out of him. He stomped into the room and announced he was going to make himself a sandwich. I said that's okay, I did not need a sandwich. He then proceeded to yell, I don't have enough ingredients for you. I visited a Bedouin camp in Jordan and I was talking to one of the elders and he was telling me that when they are serving tea or coffee they will only fill the cup about 1 stroke 2 way, but on the 3rd day they will fill the cup all the way, indicating that once you finish your meal it's time to leave. I only stayed a night, so I never got a full cup. Madia says to get the cheapest, most uncomfortable mattress for the guest room so they don't want to stay. If that doesn't work, you carve the bottom out of a candle and put a fish head in, so when you light the candle, it's nice vanilla until it's rotting burning fish. And if all else fails, you spray the curtains with cat pee. I haven't read that book in years, but I learned Madia's views by heart for a reason, I suppose. Be about a big rain that's forming and how you need to turn off the lights, get to bed. People usually wise up pretty fast after mentioning it. My dad always used to put on a recording of a Japanese girl group, the Peanuts, singing Timey Kangaroo Down. Sport in Japanese. Worked every time. I had a buddy in college whose house we'd party at on the weekends until really late. His roommate did this thing when it was getting to be that time. Whenever someone shifted in their seat, he'd jump up and reach out his hand like he was going to shake yours and say, you'll be good now. It was perfect for making you feel awkward enough to leave. We saw him do it so much we all started doing the same thing when anyone overstayed their welcome. Option 1 is to tell them. Option 2 is to set the thermostat to extremely uncomfortable levels until they want to leave. Not to answer the question directly, but just to relate to the topic. Some relatives, who happened to be our neighbors, like a couple in their 20s and their 1-year-old son, used to come over every night to watch TV because theirs was sent out for repair. This happens despite my sister obviously doing her homework, I obviously working from home, and my mother's partner obviously avoiding them by sleeping. My mom has still not come home from work. The couple seemed to expect for my sister and I to babysit on their son while they watch TV. Take note that those are my mom's partner's relatives. Obviously whatever we were doing weren't effective. What made them stop coming over? Us treating them coldly. My dad has a bottle of some really awful liquor that he gets out when guests have overstayed their welcome. They'll drink the first shot, but when dad offers them the next they always discover how late it is. When my granddad was dating my grandma, her father used to say to him, bloody heck, look at the weather, not fit to turn a dog out in that. Anyway, shouldn't you be going, Keith? Savage F. An ex-GF told me in South America, you place a broom beside or behind the front door and that tells everyone it's time to go. She said everyone knows this rule and it helps avoid the awkward moments. I couldn't imagine a more awkward signal. When I grew up, it was always brewing a pot of coffee after having a meal. Once the coffee was finished, so was the evening. Apparently this isn't common though. Miss Manners has an answer. For couples who have people over, add a secret signal. Both, apparently both is key. Stand up together and one say, "It was so nice having you guys over," and just stand there. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.